Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, we're going to talk about the portal versus recruiting, and we're going to talk about culture versus smulcher. And I really think we've got two different coaches going at this two different ways. But before we get into the differences and the possible scenarios for Tennessee and Ole Miss, I need to talk about a show I did yesterday. Yeah, this one right here, I've put out 4 dark horse natty candidates, 4 very dangerous teams. Now, needless to say, that didn't go over real well with a few different teams. Now, obviously, the 4 teams I brought up, they were okay with it. But Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State fans, they didn't like this at all. Not one bit. I told them at the beginning of the show that, I'm not counting the ones that are kind of obvious, which was Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. We're going to talk about the dark horse candidates. They didn't even like that. They don't want you to even think about winning a national championship. They feel like that belongs to them, and we're not even allowed to talk about it. Man, they came at me like you can't believe. And first, it was the Georgia, Alabama people.
Now Kane!
Oh, yeah, they brought out the chairs. They did it all. Then, all of a sudden, the Ohio State fans showed up.
Fly, ladies and gentlemen. Get your cameras ready!
They came off the top rope. So, yeah, it got really, really rough. But, it is what it is. I've told them in the comment section, agree to disagree. And, of course, one of my favorite things to say is, well, Dalton, tell them.
Opinions vary.
That's exactly right. Opinions do vary.
Roadhouse.
But anyway, let's get into this show. Now, we're going to talk about the difference between the transfer portal, recruiting, and culture. And one of the things that Josh Heupel's really tried hard to do, and I think that's why he's been careful with the portal, is build a culture of compliance, of getting along, not having a whole lot of problems. You remember the issue we had with the linebacker and with Hendon Hooker and all that kind of stuff. So I think he's trying to keep guys that he can work with and that won't do a whole lot of this. And the thing about the transfer portal is, and look, we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin because he's killing it in the portal. That's just a fact. But what comes along with the transfer portal, look, people aren't in that portal because they're happy. If they're in that portal, they're either looking for money or they're unhappy or both. If you're happy where you are, you're not leaving. So what we're trying to do, obviously at UT, is we did lose Tyler Barron, which one of the guys that Lane Kiffin picked up, but he left because he wasn't happy. And I don't think it was about money. I think it was about the playing position. I think he wanted to play strong edge, not weak edge. And I think that was a problem for him. But here's the thing. You don't want disgruntled people on your team because that becomes an issue because they talk to other people who are maybe willing to listen. And all of a sudden you've got 5, 6, 7 guys that are ticked off in your locker room and they start just causing problems. So obviously Josh Heupel's trying to stay clear of that. And he's doing it through recruiting. We do pick up positions of need in the transfer portal. Like we just picked up the #1 tight end in the portal, which was the Notre Dame guy. But we're not out there trying to build a team in the portal. Lane Kiffin is, and I'm going to show you this. And this is on Twitter or X by College Football Report. But Ole Miss picking up the #1 edge, Princely, out of Florida. #1 linebacker, Chris Paul. #2 edge, which is Tyler Barron, our guy. They just picked up wide receiver Juice Wells. And look at this list. They also picked up Tamarian McDonald, which was the #16 safety. So they have been very busy in the transfer portal. Also, they've got a chance to land Walter Nolan, who he's leaning towards Ole Miss. So needless to say, old Lane here has been very busy in the portal. And I've been telling you folks what I thought would happen. I thought Billy Napier will fold next year. They'll fire him, and then they'll bring Lane Kiffin in.
How dare you!
To be the head coach of Florida. But here's the thing. Ole Miss has found their wallet. All of a sudden, they got a bunch of money. And I think what's happened, and this might make the Ole Miss people happy because I got quite a few that watch. And I've tried to tell you it's not your fault. He's going to leave you. That's what the guy does.
It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault.
But here's the thing. His #1 issue was money. And it wasn't, he's making $9 million a year. It's not money for him. He wants NIL money. Well, guess what? They found a bunch of NIL money. And I think it's a combination of 2 things. #1, we got a 12-team playoff coming up next year. And he just went 10-2 again He's done that 2 times in the last 3 years, and he would have done it the other year had he not been over there flirting around with Auburn and trying to get cozy with them. But he's been winning. And those people down there in Ole Miss, there are some rich folks down there that are going, man, you know, we've got this really good coach, and he's winning. And if we don't support him, we're going to lose him, and we're going to go back to being 5-7. And I don't think they like that or want that. They could win a national title with this guy. It could happen, and they could do it out of the portal. Now, it's a short-term remedy, and it's not something that's going to last long-term, but I don't think Lane cares. He's just trying to get a natty any way he can get it, and it's possible they're going to pull it off. I've got him down as a dark horse to win a national championship next year. Now, our guy, Josh Heupel's doing it the more standard way, and really the way that's going to last long-term, and that's through recruiting and bringing in guys that you can really vet. It's hard to vet somebody in 2 days in the transfer portal. But when you recruit a kid over 2 years, you can find out what kind of, attitude he's got. Is he going to fit in? Is he a good fit for the system? All of that. So that's the route Josh Heupel's going. And if you've noticed his recruiting, Josh has picked up 4 or 5 stars in the last 2 years, a ton of 4 stars. Our blue chip ratio is really good, whereas Lane Kiffin has not been as heavy in recruiting. He has an okay class, normally around 20th. And he'll have like 8, 9, 4 stars. He won't have very many 5 stars at all. But he goes and gets a bunch of players out of transfer portal, and it's worked really well for him. It's been successful. So it's 2 different ways of going at it. Both ways could be successful. Now, I will tell you, if Ole Miss were to start losing, it could crash and burn because he went and got guys who were disgruntled somewhere else. That's why they were in the portal. Either it was money or they weren't happy or both. And when you're disgruntled, as long as you're winning, you're fine. You start losing, it's going to get ugly real quick. Whereas if you've got a bunch of guys that are, kind of like this, they'll pretty well stick together even if things don't go so well. So you've got 2 different coaches going at it 2 different ways, and both might work. They're both dark horse national championship contenders. And Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, calm down. You've still got your excellent shot at it, but now others have a shot at it because it's not only just 4. This is a problem for the top-end teams because they don't like it. They don't want other teams having an opportunity, and they don't want other fan bases happy. Well, guess what? You're going to have 12 fan bases thrilled next year and another probably 8 that have a chance all during the season. They're going to be pumped. It's going to be the most exciting year of college football we've ever seen. I don't think there's any question. And there's going to be so many fan bases pumped and going nuts all year. It's really going to be great for the college game. And I'm real excited about it. And we're getting away from this nightmare 4-team deal, which finally blew up in these commissioners' faces. And I promise you this, those commissioners, especially that Phillips with ACC, he's going to be so glad to get to 2024 because I promise you there are people that are not happy with him, not even slightly. And the other commissioners, too, that formed the alliance. Nice job on that, knuckleheads. So stupid. Politicians in charge of sports. Yeah, what could go wrong? Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's remember to continue to cover all this SEC coverage, the Big Ten sometimes, and just whatever kind of floats across the screen. And if you haven't subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit this little button right here. It would help me out, and it would cost you not a dime. And right over here's the most recent video. YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.